really excited and pleased to introduce a friend, Richard Beem, who is founder and president of Beem Patent Law Firm based in Chicago. It's a firm of 3 patent attorneys and represents clients in the U.S. and international patent matters, including prosecution, litigation, trials, and appeals. He's a leader at the bar nationally and internationally, and he has published and lectured on patent law and practice in the U.S., Europe, and Asia. Mr. Beem is a past president and a member of the steering committee of the U.S. group of the International Association for the Protection of Intellectual Property. He's a leader in the American Bar Association section on intellectual property law, having served as chair of the International Patent Treaties and Law Committee, and he previously has chaired the section committees on patent litigation, amicus curiae, I don't know if I said that properly, briefs, and interests of individuals and small businesses. He earned a bachelor's in chemical engineering from Iowa State University. So those of you engineers, we just had a speaker an hour ago who said engineering was a great platform for careers in law, in medicine, and many other fields. So here's a prime example of Rich Beem. Chemical engineering graduate from Iowa State. He worked in the oil and chemicals industry for a time before he went to law school at the University of Houston Law Center. And he clerked for 2 years with the Honorable Edward S. Smith, Circuit Judge in Washington, D.C., before commencing his law practice in Chicago. Recipient of numerous awards, he also served loyally for 10 years on the Engineering College's Industrial Advisory Board. So please join me in thanking him for that service and an exciting talk. Thanks, Rich.
Thank you and good evening. Intellectual property, IP. I'm going to talk most specifically about patents. They are a key asset in the global economy. The views expressed here are those of the author, that's me, not necessarily those of clients. These are my views as of today, and they're subject to change. What's big in IP and patents? The passage of the America Invents Act by Congress just last September, it's still being implemented. It has changes that have repercussions throughout the U.S. and the world. The U.S. has gone to a first-to-file system. There are more filings and there are more choices, more filings of patent applications and more choices about where to file them and how to pursue them. There was a Nortel patent auction that went for $4.5 billion in 2011. This is a defunct company. That's what their patents were worth. Google acquired Motorola Mobility for its patents for $12.5 billion in 2011. That closed this year. Kodak went bankrupt, but it was allowed to keep operating its business based on its collateral, namely the patents. Microsoft paid $1 billion for AOL's 900 patents. Those were partly resold to Facebook for $550 million. What else is big? There's a lot of activity at the U.S. Patent Office, at the district courts, at the International Trade Commission, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, and the U.S. Supreme Court. They're all very active in deciding patent cases. Software and its intersection with hardware and patentability of software is a very hot topic. Everything having to do with biotech and medical. There's cases that are up at the Supreme Court right now. Should you be able to patent assays for gene sequences? When should you be able to get an injunction to stop someone else from infringing a patent? And damages are very much in discussion. What else is big in IP and patents? International. This course is about globalization, and patents and intellectual property are very global, even though they're national. So patent rights are granted by a U.S. patent. If you're in Korea, you need a Korean patent. If you're in Japan, you need a Japanese patent. What does a U.S. patent cover? It covers stopping someone from making a product in the U.S., if it's covered by your patent. It covers stopping them from using the technology. It covers stopping them from importing. So anything that goes across the border starts to have international ramifications. All of those things can be covered by a U.S. patent. But if you want to stop the Chinese from exporting your patented technology to China, to Korea or Japan, you're going to need patents in those countries. The Patent Cooperation Treaty is very much active. I'm going to talk more about that. There's also something called the Patent Prosecution Highway, where patent offices cooperate with each other in examining basically the same patent application and using the same search results. That's partly because the countries of the world have been unable to agree on everything and to bring everybody together on what's called substantive patent law harmonization. So what's happening instead is bilateral treaties between countries. Again, we're talking about a global marketplace. There's something called the IP5. Those are the 5 biggest intellectual property offices in the world. Those account for 90% of the world's patent applications. The U.S. is very big, but now China is coming along strong. How do you think it compares Chinese? What's your sense for intellectual property in China? They don't pay much attention to it, right? That's what everybody knows. But a lot of what people know ain't so. There are 5 times as many patent applications filed last year in China as in the U.S. There were also more patent applications filed in Japan than in the U.S. It's a very intense race. Now, you can talk about whether those patent applications in China are the same quality as those in the U.S. Many of them are design applications or what's called utility models, which don't have the same degree of examination as utility patents, which is the main focus in the U.S. The European Patent Office is becoming more of a community. You already know about the European Union. There's also a European Patent Convention, and it has 38 countries, more members than there are of the European Union. And it's possible to file a European patent application, get examination, and then take that patent and register it in each country. And believe me, each country is glad to collect its fee for the patent for that country. The Japan Patent Office and the Korean Patent Office round things out.